I've spent well over 3,000 hours over the span of 4 years, building and planning everything that you're about to see in the survival world. I've gathered millions of blocks, building thousands of custom trees, and creating entire mountains by hand. Come along and see what makes this world one of the most ambitious in all of Minecraft. Hello everybody, my name is Mod, and welcome back to our survival world. Now, this is not just an ordinary episode, as today we're going to do a big old world tour. We're going to show a bunch of the places that we built up over the years. And of course, even if you've been following the world for a very long time, there's still plenty to see, as we've done so much in recent times. From things like refurbishing our temple down this way, to newer builds like this little house, all the way down there to larger temples. So I figured we could start with something a little smaller than what we usually work on, and that entails this whole house here. Since the last world tour, which I think was around 8, maybe 9 months ago by now, I hadn't really done interiors too much, but this is one of my favorite ones. I think things like the fireplace, the bit of pottery here, and even the chairs really add a lot, and then even adding things like campfires underneath these smokers here to make them look like they're stoves. Of course, we've got to have a basement, so down here I built a little wine cellar with a couple of spooky candles. And then heading on upstairs past our bookshelves, we get a nice small bedroom right here with 3 beds, with a nice view of our temple down this way. There's even a way to get out of the house, just right here, where you can check it out on the balcony. We have our front door right here. If you walk on out, this nice area, there's a bunch of greenery. I tried using azalea leaves for the first time, and I think it turned out pretty well. Now here's the exterior of the house. I've made it all bushy, and I tried my best to sort of push it back into the land so it sort of blends in that way. And before we head down the tunnel, I think we should go this way, where we can check out some nicer views. We got a little swing here, but also you get a great view of what is beneath the tunnel, which is this whole alleyway or valleyway. But I'll have a quick cinematic of what it looked like before and after here. This whole thing was just nothing. A little bland in my opinion, so I went ahead, terraformed the whole thing, and you'll kind of get the gist that I do a lot of terraforming in this world, so a big thing in this world is collecting a bunch of blocks and just placing them down wherever I can. Now the next house we have here, I won't go too in depth with it, but got a nice small interior with a kitchen and a living area, and of course our bedroom. There's an attic, but there's nothing really up there. But moving on, I think it would be nice to check out this horse stable here. I thought it would be appropriate to sort of have it near this house so you could have your own little old style garage, I guess you could call it. Of course, we've got our horses here and our hay bales and everything that they need. And right across the way, there's a beautiful flower field. Now we have a whole bunch of them, and we can kind of get the idea of what I was going for here. If I hop on top, you can kind of see there's a whole bunch of flowers, all sorts and all different kinds. There's even wheat down this way. And the whole point was that so the people up in the castle would get a gorgeous, gorgeous view of everything down here, especially our temple and the big old pagoda down this way, which I'll get to in a moment. Now, unfortunately, this temple here doesn't have an interior yet. I worked pretty hard on the outside. It was a lot of fun to do. But one of my favorite things about this whole place is this gorgeous, absolutely wonderful view you get right here. Now, I'm thinking that once this will be done, I think this would be a great opportunity to have some sort of viewing area here or something that could really make this place pop, as we have a whole bunch of room in here, as you can see, and we even have another floor above here that you can actually go on top of. But coming back on this way, you get a nice view of our castle here. Of course, there's plenty of things I would like to do with it. I think I'd like to refurbish this as well, but we'll take a tour of this in a minute. But before we go ahead and do that, let's go ahead down on this way and check out what's down this path. Now, what you'll notice about this world is that there tend to be a lot of custom trees. I think I've mined something like 200,000 oak leaves alone, some ludicrous number like that. Of course, we got a beautiful view of the temple looking back this way, and the wheat fields and everything else. I also made sure to add smaller little details, like over here, we have a little shop where you can kind of get anything. It's kind of like a small general store where you can kind of, get things like bamboo or pottery, or even get something smelted for yourself. And I think adding something like a villager in here would really, really liven the place up. So that'll be something that I'll do in the future. But I'd love to hear more suggestions from you guys as to what I should build and where I should put it. Just let me know. Anyway, down here, there's nothing right now, but I figured it would be a nice place to put some sort of, a small park, something like that. And it's been a while since I've really done anything to this area. As you can see, like, this wall is pretty bland, but there's stuff we can do with it eventually. This pagoda is really, really old. I've actually been thinking about tearing it down and replacing it with something a little bit more modern and tasteful. Right now, it just sort of serves as a place where I store a bunch of random stuff. As you can see, there's nothing really organized about this place, but at least from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. Now down this way, here's another ancient house that I built years and years ago. We have our little pet frog over here that I brought all the way from a bamboo forest way down that way. And a whole bunch of other animals that I got from the same jungle. Oh, we've got our kitchen, and then this is where my main base was for quite a while. Of course, we have our doggy here, and an extra pair of elytra if we ever needed it. Now, coming out of the house and down this path, we get one of my favorite views in the whole world. It's this view right here, where you just get the castle coming right into view just about here. I think this never gets old. It's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, as the sun's setting here, you really get a beautiful glimpse of what we'll get to see in a moment. Now, coming down this path, we got a really nice area down here. It's very cozy. We got a whole bunch of flowers and whatnot, a small pond even, and especially our whole spawn area is down this way. So initially you'd spawn all the way down there, and then you'd walk down this way, and you get a great view of our castle here, and our little wall that we built, and some really aged torii gates that also need to be updated, but we'll have to deal with that some other time. Now, coming on up here, there's a couple of small things I'll show off, and then we'll head on to the castle. But we've got some small houses here with little interiors right like this. You kind of get nice views. Our beautiful wheat field here, and then of course an even smaller house where you get a beautiful view just down here. This whole area has always been breathtaking to me. I just love coming out here after being in this house, but as you can see, it's very cramped. I've tried to add a lot of detail, a lot of things so your eyes don't get too tired, but of course you get a small little view through these fence gates here. Now, before we do anything, I'm actually gonna head back up this way, and we'll go ahead and check out our castle up on the hill over here that you can't even see anymore. But the way to get up there is actually through this tunnel that I built quite a while ago. This also will need to have a little bit of refurbishing done to it. It's very gray. I quite like this area that it comes out to. Up this path, there's a really tiny castle up here that I kind of imagine would be somewhere where security guards would go. But not only that, you get a beautiful view of our giant pagoda down this way that we have yet to do an interior for. But this whole area here has a lot of work that has to be done with it, but I think it'll come out really nicely in the end. Now, if you're curious, I actually have a tutorial on this channel showing off how to build this all on your own, block by block, so if you want to, check it out. But let's not get too distracted. Heading on down this way, we have a beautiful path with our trees and leaves falling down and everything like that, which is all connected to our castle down here, which has a bit of an interior. I'm sure you kind of get the idea that I'm kind of lazy with interiors, especially on these bigger builds, because there's just so much to cover. Now, in my test world, I actually have an interior ready to go here. I just haven't had the opportunity to build it yet. But as you can see, through this whole area, we have the sort of theme of gold and white and brown, so it's sort of royal looking. And then I've even added a touch of red down this way. Now, this is meant to be sort of a royal area, so I've had a ton of storage ready to go. And then coming up these stairs here, this whole thing is really grand, so I'm thinking that I'll have a beautiful center here with maybe like a tree of some sort or something like that. We get a really grand opening here, have everything else sort of set up, and then more living quarters and whatnot up here, where you could really get beautiful views of the whole world. Now, moving on before we spend too much time up there, we have our smaller area down here that has been built, I want to say, what, 2.5 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago? Something like that. We have a couple of bees here ready to go, and then inside of here, nothing. Now, as we head on down through our tunnel, let's make our way to the castle, and let's go ahead and start touring it. Now, as we're walking to our castle, I thought I'd mention that I've tried to add a couple of smaller buildings, like this little small cabin thing here, where you can sort of rent out fishing gear or something like that, or go boating, where you can go on the dock here and do whatever you want with this lake. And then I've also made sure to include the details as best as I can of a big old rice field here. Now, of course, there's no rice in Minecraft, so it's kind of tricky to do, but for the most part, I think it turned out pretty nice, especially with these bushy leaves. It makes everything sort of look somewhat realistic. Now, this big old project was built about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago now. It's been quite a while. Most of the interior is done with it, not all of it, of course. But yeah, looking back from here, you get just a beautiful view of this whole area, and even more down this way, where you can see it's pretty cramped in here. You kind of get a good amount of detail, and then of course our bridge across here. Now, heading on through our gates, we'll actually be able to enter this area first, which is sort of like the main quarters. There's even a small wine cellar here for the most royal of wines. Down this way, I tried to add as many paintings and things as I could, but we've got a nice planning table here with a whole library connected to it. And then down this way, we've got sort of a smithing area / storage area where maybe tools would be made or something useful. Now, back in the main area, you head on up these steps. We've got a whole area down here And then of course, we've got a small bedroom down here, maybe for some important prince or princess or something like that. And then a small room down this way, where you have like a little study area or something like that. We can get some work done, get a nice view, get nice fresh smell of the flowers down there, and then be done with all your work. But back at the stairs, we can head on down this way. Of course, we get a nice view of the whole area down there. There's more storage up this way, a small living quarters down here where you can have a coffee break, take a look outside, do whatever you want. And then up here is like a small tower, maybe a guard would be stationed up here. And there isn't too much going on up here, but I figured it would be a nice detail, and you can kind of get a glimpse of what we're going to look at later down the line with the rest of the world. Now, I won't go too far into detail here, as there's a couple rooms here that I haven't toured. There's a couple rooms down in this building here, but since I'm leaving a free download link in the description, I want you guys to go check it out yourselves. Now, the last thing I'll show off before we head on down sort of this area is up here. We get a really nice area. We can kind of overlook a lot of the world that we've toured so far. Now, we started down sort of this way, moved our way down this way to this temple that you saw earlier, and then our pagoda, and that's where that royal castle was down there. So we sort of moved all the way down this way. So this sort of side of the world is all toured. Now, we were just up on that ledge, but we're at the bridge right now, and there isn't too much to show off here. There's just a couple buildings that don't have too much detail with them. But heading on down this way, we have our little waterfall here that sort of leads down into this canyon or valley that I was telling you about earlier. Now, I tried my best to make this place really cozy. Everything is sort of, huddled together, and I even have a couple of ingrown houses here. Now, heading on down this way, I have small little houses like this. I think that bring a good amount of life to the area. But down here, this river sort of flows all the way to this big old cliff here. And it's a giant cave that goes all the way down. It's one of the biggest caves in this whole area, and it was actually one of my main mining caves way back in the day. So here we get to some of the aftermath of this whole building project, where I had a bunch of my stone. I think there's still a good amount of materials here that always come in handy, especially these candles nowadays, since I try to do as many interiors as we can. This is a more recent project we did where we built a whole mountain right around here. I think 3 episodes ago, something like that. That I think added a good amount of balance to our castle here and sort of let the whole area breathe more easily. And we even got a nice view of our newer style of htori gate here that's sort of replicated all the way down this way, and a nice view of our birds. Now, this place has to be one of my favorite views in the whole world. I loved this whole terraforming project that I did. This took about 3 months to do. I think it was something like 1.1 million blocks total or something ridiculous like that. It was just so many blocks I had to place and get, but it all worked out in the end. So we get an absolutely wonderful view of things like wheat fields, the back of our temple there, and an even smaller temple here called Sky Temple. We named after our dog a couple of episodes ago. Don't worry, the dog is still alive. She's just chilling inside somewhere. Let's see, where are you, Sky? Here you are. So yeah, as you can see, let's have a bit of an armory here, a couple of small decorative pieces here, and then a little workshop down this way. And I figured this area would be a nice place to reserve for like a praying area, or you could just take a beautiful view, a peek outside just like this. This place also has a nice view on this side, and I hadn't built with this much mangrove wood before. It was kind of a nightmare to gather, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think I'll be building with too much mangrove wood in the future, just because I don't have a tree farm for it yet. Now, pushing on down this way, we have a nice sight line of our castle, especially once we get on top of our mountain down that way. But I used a lot of bone meal here. This whole place took quite a while to get all detailed up, but it was 100% worth it, especially this pathing. I tried to use as many small blocks as I could to really pack in a lot to see. And then you see our birds overhead, and turning around, you get one of my favorite views of this whole area. It's really cool to see just how long of a stretch there is of building. Now, coming up on this way, there's a small area here that I'd like to start working on pretty soon. It's just an area that I think could be nice to put a small house or small cottage with, because I feel like this is just unbeatable. I love these types of views. We're just long stretches, like I just showed you down there, especially as we'll have more room down this way eventually once we're done terraforming. I have big plans for this whole area here. I think this place would be a really prime area for another castle where important people live, or maybe even just a small village. I don't know yet. But as you can see, coming all the way over here, it's just a sheer drop off. There's just nothing. You can come underneath. You can see just how many blocks we placed. It would be pretty scary if there was no torches, because I think there would be hundreds of mobs, I would imagine. But yeah, it just keeps going and going. One of the bigger achievements I've recently done is building a dirt farm all the way down there. For now, that'll have to be something I'll show off later on in the video, and sort of how it works and how intricate it is. But just for some reference, we started our video all the way down right around here, where it's covered by trees, but that's where that house was. We went to the temple down there. We went to our pagoda down this way that I don't think you can get a view of. Oh, there you go. There's a spire right there. But we sort of made an L shape, sort of came back around this way. And I think the next plan is going to be to circle back around sort of this way and come looping on around. Now, as you can see, there's even more terraforming I'll have to do right here. And once I do that, I'll have nothing else to do other than the backside of the entire mountain. So as we walk down here, I'll tell you about the next stop, which will be Llama Lake. Now, you guys suggested that I name this Llama Lake after a llama that was swimming in here without a wandering trader while I was building it during that video. This was the first video I really put these cattails out of the water, and I think they add a lot, and it's something that I'm gonna keep doing with most of my lakes. And we still have yet to add like a little waterfall here coming down and trickling across, but I think that's still something that we should really do. Now, a main point of interest for this whole area is our giant wheat field down here. This took way too long. I didn't expect it to take this long. I made an entire video about it a couple of episodes ago, so if you want to go check that out, please feel free to. It's honestly one of the biggest projects that I've had to do, especially in this area, since in the same video I went ahead and terraformed a giant portion of this mountain here and added a whole bunch of these trees. So I'm not going to go too in depth with this mountain. There isn't too much to see right now, but next video I'm hoping to add a little house right here and finish up the cap of this whole area right here. Now let's go ahead and walk on down to the rest of the area that I haven't shown off yet. Now this is the area in question. The whole idea was that it would be surrounding this lake here, which would also eventually feed into our city down this way, which I'll get to in a moment. Coming over this way, there's a whole bunch of terraforming done once again. And if you're familiar with the movie called Your Name, it's an anime movie from, I don't know, 2016 or something like that. This was inspired by the main character's house. I thought it was cool that it was on like the pillars here on like a small stream underneath it. And I'll have a picture up on screen right now. I tried my best to add as many small details inside as I could. You know, a nice kitchen here and our bookshelves and whatnot. You get a beautiful view of the city, or what will be the city, and then even a small bridge here. Now in the future, I have big plans for this whole area, and that's one of the big reasons I made the dirt farm in the first place that I keep mentioning. Coming upstairs, you get a small bedroom up here. I think it's a pretty cute place. You get some nice views down this way, and especially down this way, which, as I mentioned before, will only get better with time. Now, coming back down to the base of the mountain, we're gonna walk down on this way, where one of our oldest videos takes place, our beacon temple. Now, since this was one of my first terraforming projects, well, at least big terraforming projects, it took a really long time. I think it was something like 40 or 45 hours, something like that, just to do everything by hand. And I would say that overall, I'm pretty happy with it. There's a couple small things that I would change. Like I think some of the pathing could be done differently, but overall for an early project, I think I would approve it. You also get a really nice view coming up here of the entirety of the world, and of course what's more to come down this way. And there is a small interior. There isn't too much. It's just a small bedroom all the way up here. And I try to add the detail where there's like a small trapdoor. You could check on the beacons if you're the person who's in charge. Now the next stop we're gonna head on to is all the way down here. We have a bit of a bridge project to look at, but as you can see, as we walk up to our bridge down here, there's just a sheer cliff with a big old place where I used to get a bunch of stone from, but now we have our cobblestone farm and our wood farm here to replace that. And you also get a really nice view of the rest of the world down this way too. Now, I'd never really built a big old bridge before, so this whole thing I think I could do better now, but at the time I think it was really almost ahead of its time, especially since I hadn't used much mangrove wood before. So I used a little bit here and like a couple of small details, but for the most part it's just red concrete. But one of my favorite parts is down this way. There's quite a bit of detail. You can get a nice place to relax and rest and do whatever you want. And beyond the bridge, I try to always add small benches around that I'll probably show off later, but you get a nice view of our castle, the pagoda here. Now you just come down off of the cliffside here. That's where we were before with the bridge. But down this way, we sort of have the main area where we initially were building We've got a small watchtower here. Unfortunately, there isn't much of an interior, but you do get a nice sort of feel for what this place is supposed to be. Now I'm thinking about tearing a lot of these houses down and just sort of replacing them with more tasteful houses. These ones I built just almost as a copy and paste sort of build style from down in the main city, which I don't think necessarily fits here super well, if I'm being honest. Not like these houses here, which are a bit more tasteful. Now coming up on here is one of my favorite pagodas in the world. Unfortunately, again, there's no interior, but if you guys have an idea, just let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Now, I like this place since you get a really nice view of our bridge here, a nice view of the castle through the bamboo. I kind of like that. And you also have access to the rest of the world down here. And of course, we have to go take a visit to our favorite bar in the side of the mountain here. There isn't too much going on, but I think small details like that help the world come alive a bit better. Now, across from the bar, you're actually able to come back to where the pagoda is, kind of come down this way, and you're able to see where my old base was before everything was sort of terraformed over, like a little underground facility. And this is actually inside of another mountain here, so this is what it used to look like. And of course you can come back inside. And then my very first ever base is right here. Again, it's underground, it's underneath a bit of wheat, so you can't really see, but inside here you can kind of get the idea that there was a bit going on. Of course, we've got a bit of armor when I guess I went hunting for stuff. We've got some books and whatnot. I'll actually take these because these could be useful, especially this diamond horse armor. But coming back to places like this is always fun because you can kind of see like, oh, what was I collecting back in the day and blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. Back outside, we're able to come down. Actually, let's go this way. So longtime viewers of the channel probably recognize this place as a very old place. I think this temple has been here almost since the beginning of the world, but since then we've done a bit to it. It's a pretty old build. I think I'll just keep it for now, honestly, and just remodel it maybe later down the road. But coming down this way is one of my favorite views. You just get a perfect view of our temple up here, which I'll go ahead and tour right in a minute. Either way, we have our city down here with a whole bunch of different shops. Now there's things like bookstores in here with a bit of storage up top. I've just tried to detail each place sort of to their own style, but even down here, this is a newer area where I'm trying to make this sort of like a pottery shop, and then underneath is a separate sort of building or store where you can go in, and here's a restaurant inside. And I still have a couple things to detail, like some paintings on the walls I think would benefit this place a lot, maybe lighting the candles, things like that. And then back here is like a little storage area, and then I'll eventually have to add a kitchen, but for now it's just that down there. I think it just helps adding stuff. I was actually inspired by a couple places when I was in New York. There's small places down here that sort of look like this, so you can go down and it adds a lot of atmosphere. Here's like a cafe over here with a long table where you kind of sit on the floor like this. Upstairs, it extends all the way down this way, and then we have a little kitchen in the back with some more seating. And then outside, you get a beautiful view of the rest of the world and just the people walking down the street or something like that. It kind of keeps going on. We have our cat here. He's the shopkeeper of this bookstore, or I guess it's a manga store, whatever you wanted to call it. I forget what I wanted to use it for initially, but there's storage areas here. There's even a small cafe in here again. This building here initially was meant to be a hotel, but I sort of turned it into an industrial area where I have my villager breeder down here that actually doesn't have any villagers in it because I shut it down as there were way too many. And then I have, of course, up here my villager trading hall that sort of needs to be refurbished and updated, but I've got a ton of enchantment books and it keeps going down that way. But we've got an entrance to sort of go up the mountain down this way. We can kind of walk up, and there's a whole bunch of small houses up this mountain that we can explore. Now here's the first of such houses. This one doesn't actually have an interior, but coming up this way, we've got even more houses down this way. I think there's two or three, something like that. And a couple of different plants, but I like this spot just because you get a really cool view of this whole area here. And I tried to add a lot of detail here, so we've got things like the wheat fields and the prickly cherry bushes. I forget what these are called. Yeah, they're sweet bears, that's what they're called. Heading back over this way, we'll keep on going up. So next in store, we were kind of in this area earlier with our beacon keepers quarters over here with the beacons here, but this is actually just a cactus farm. I turned it into a bone meal farm, even though I really don't need it anymore. But if you're going to free cam, you can kind of see this just keeps going up and up and up and up. This is one of the first things I built. I just thought it would be fun to do, so I figured, hey, why not? It'll be some free bone meal since I don't have a farm yet and blah blah blah. So that's what I did. But coming on down to the sister tower of that one, I still don't know what to do here. It's been a really long time. You can kind of see it sort of shut it off from the rest of the world. but it goes up pretty high. So again, if you guys have any ideas, just let me know what I should build here. I'm really thinking that it would be fun to build like a hotel or something like that, since I have a bubble elevators design that I'm able to implement, which I'll also have to implement in the other pagoda way down this way that's sort of in the distance there. Our next old building has to be this one. Now this is the first like big house that I ever built. It's a really old designed interior, which I'll probably have to refurbish, but we've got our dogs in here, some old storage and chests and whatnot, and we've even got an upstairs here that leads sort of to an outdoor garden. And I made sure to use nether bricks, which I don't use very often, but I felt like it was a nice block to use since I hadn't really used it before. Now over here we've got, you know, a hot tub, blah blah, and some trees, which, wow, these are really old. Like this whole area is very old. And as a little fun fact, this whole area is the only place I think where I placed down like saplings, grew them, and just didn't break them. I used to have that be the case over here, but not as much anymore. And what are you doing here? But we finally made it to our big temple. A lot of you guys have been asking for a tutorial on this build, which I'm thinking about doing. I do want to refurbish a bit of the outside here, like these pillars here could do with a bit of work. But other than that, I mean, this is one project I was really proud of. It's one of my first builds, especially doing it by freehand. I just sort of had a bunch of material saved up, and I went ahead and built this. I think it was over 3 months of building or something like that. Of course, we have our garden here. Now, I think we should move the dragon egg off of our little statue's head here, as it's been there for maybe 3 years now, and I just don't know what to do with it. And little things like getting rid of these, it's really outdated. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. I just sort of wanted to put down some greenery, and I didn't really know what I was doing. But coming on back out here, we see the back of our temple here, and we got a really gorgeous view of just our whole area that we had already previously toured, but I figured we might as well go back and check it out. My whole idea with this was that it could be a really nice place to have a ceremony, even a funeral, or even a wedding. Now next up, I think we ought to go inside of our temple, all the way inside I mean, and let's go check out what we have to offer. Now going up this bubble elevator here, it's kind of industrial looking inside, but we have a bunch of my shulker boxes with a bunch of project materials that I've used in the past, very recently actually, which I all have to sort of dump inside of here, and that'll be auto sorted all the way into this giant chest room here that took, wow, it took quite a while to build. But back here we have all of our chests, and then over here we have a lot of the dump chests that we don't actually use or have materials to sort with. And heading back on down this way, we have our main nether portal, and then on this side we have another bubble elevator that I never really ended up using, but we do have our super smelter here, which has come really in handy when it comes to melting down all of our stone and whatnot. Looks like this side might need a little push, but this thing has served me really well for a long time, so I'm happy that I built it. But I think at this time, this place is definitely due for a refurbish. It's just so old, and there's a lot of stuff inside of it that I don't really know if I should completely take out, like the storage room, and refurbish it. I think this is alright for now. I might go ahead and make another one somewhere else, but the whole idea with this place is that it's sort of the center of the world. Now, initially, this whole thing was sort of one layer high, if that makes sense. So instead of it being like one layer like this and then another layer like this of roofs, it was just one like that, and I sort of didn't like that, so I took it all down and rebuilt the roof. But if we go ahead and fly up over this way, you can get a really nice view of the whole world like this. And if I'm not mistaken, there's another place here where you can kind of come up and take a nice view. Now the last thing I'll show off is right over here. We didn't get a chance to check it out yet, but I know that a lot of people were sort of fascinated by this in past world tours, so I guess I ought to mention it. We put a lot of work into this one. It's pretty old though. We have a whole place where we keep a lot of our elytra at. Coming upstairs, this is sort of recently redone. I want to say like a year ago. It's not completely done yet, as you can see, but coming up here, we've got different floors with different chests and storage units, and it's sort of the same story going all the way up to the top. We just have different layers where we can do certain projects in and blah blah. But coming outside, you can get a pretty nice view of this area and down this way too. Before I forget, I also wanted to show off our dirt farm and tree farm that is really going to revolutionize the way that I make these videos. I think in like 5 minutes, we've got like 3 double chests or something worth of dirt. Yeah, this took all day to make. I think it was like 5 hours of building or something. And then I had to go collect the materials as well and build farms for those. So it was kind of a pain to make, but overall, definitely worth it. It's going to, like I said, really revolutionize the way that we do do these videos since I won't have to farm for dirt, 10 hours a day anymore. But I think that's gonna do it for this world tour. This is a world, I think 4 years in the making now, so it's been quite a while of you guys tagging along with me, so thank you so much. And if you want to check out what shaders I'm using the Bliss main shaders, and I'm also using a couple of different texture packs, which are just right about here. And if you want this world for yourself, remember, check the description, or you can check out my Patreon, also linked in the description. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.